Hi class, this is Mr. Bastida. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, washing your hands, and practicing social distancing. So this is the first video, the first math video. We're going to be going over fractions and number bonds. So this is a review. This is lesson 8. We did this about 2 weeks before going on spring break. So many of you, again, this is going to be a review for a lot of you. For some of you, I know you forget things. We all forget things. We become rusty. So this is going to be a good refresher. And we're going to pick up from lesson 8. So objective. We'll represent parts of one whole as fractions with number bonds. So before we go on, let's just do a quick review. So remember, when you're reading in a test or an assignment or anything, you see the word partition. Remember, that means to divide into equal parts, or you take an object and you break it up into equal parts. Let's stick with equal parts because fractions are splitting objects into equal parts. So for example, I have 2 candy bars. I have one there. I have another one there. I want to split it with my brother. I'm going to give him this little piece, and I'm going to get the big one. That is not equal parts. Neither is that, but let's try this one. Yes, I'm not a robot, so bear with me. So equal parts means they're the same size. All right. So let's review. Draw a shape partition in halves with one half shaded. So if you recall, halves means you split into 2 parts. So again, this is not a fraction because this piece right here is smaller than this one. They're not equal, therefore it is not a fraction. So again, there's a perfect fraction right here. So it says, draw a shape partition in half with one half shaded. So here's my shaded one. We're going to pretend that's perfectly shaded in, and one half is not. Write the fraction that is shaded. So the fraction that's shaded is 1/2. The fraction that's not shaded or unshaded is 1/2. So it's very important we pay attention to the shaded and unshaded or not shaded, because sometimes you're going to get, because here, if you put it 1/2, you would have gotten it right. But let's say you break it, it's broken up into thirds, and 2/3 are shaded. But the question is saying, in this shape, how much is unshaded? And you put 2/3, you got it incorrect because 2/3 is shaded. So unshaded will be 1/3. I know it's kind of like scribble scrabble. I apologize. I'm not the most dexterous when it comes to writing with a pen like this. So use your imagination. 2/3, 1/3. So 1/3 is unshaded, 2/3 is shaded. So, and let's review also number bonds. So you recall number bonds. So when we have a number, right here I have 4, the number 4. So that means like 4 units. So we could say it's 4 cookies, 4 apples, 4 whatever. We have 4. We can break up this 4 into 1 using a number bond. So we have 1 apple plus 1 apple plus 1 apple plus 1 apple. So here is my number 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 4. I mean, if it just said decompose the 4 blank using a number bond, I can also break it up into a 3 and a 1. 3 plus 1 equals 4. I could break it up into, I know it looks like a cube, but we get it, it's a 4. A 2 and a 2. That's also a number bond. The reason this would have been this is the correct answer because this is what it's telling us to do. Decompose using 1 into 1 using a number bond. So let me erase. So that's a quick reminder. Let's see. I can move on. Let's see. Oh no, how do I? Here we go. Problem sets. So let's begin. Problem sets. Number 1. Decompose 1 into 4s using a number bond. What are the unit fractions? So notice a lot of you will just, whenever given a problem like this, you'll read it really quickly and you'll only do the last step. What are the fractions, the unit fractions? But you'll gloss over the first part. So whenever you read a problem that has multiple sentences, read it all, go back and chunk it into steps. So let's do the first part. Decompose one. So how many units do we have? We have 1 unit. Oh no, I went back. How do I make this smaller? One unit. That means I have 1 cookie. 1. So I have 1 apple. We're going to break it up into fourths using a number one. So so if I have 1 apple and I want to break it into fourths, I'm going to break it up into 4 equal parts. So here's my beautiful apple. Here's a picture. 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. That's how the picture would look. In a number bond, this is how we will represent it. So 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 equals 4/4 or 1. So 1/4 plus 1/4 is 2/4. 3/4, 4/4. So if I eat 1/4, I still have 3/4 left. If I eat 2/4, I have 2/4 left or half of the apple left. If I eat 4/4 of this apple, I eat all the apple. I eat 1 entire apple. So again, reminder, we call these the unit fraction. The unit fraction is 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. The unit fraction is 1/4 because each part is 1/4. So remember, unit fraction is 1/4. So 3/4 are shaded. What's the number? So if I have a number bond and 3/4 are shaded, again, we're going to pretend that's beautiful shading. We know that 3/4 is shaded. So what's left over from 3/4 to make 1 whole? 1/4. That's 3/4 plus 1/4 equals 1 whole apple or 1 whole apple. Let me erase. Now let's just decompose 1 into fifths. So let's decompose 1 into fifths. So again, I have 1 chocolate bar. And we're going to break it up into fifths. So my unit fraction is 1/5, 1/5. Sorry, I know it's kind of slow, but bear with me. I'll get faster with more practice. 1/5 and 1/5. Here is my number bond. Ooh, that's ugly, but we're going to pretend it's not. 1/5 plus 1/5, 2/5, 3/5, 4/5, 5/5. So if I were to draw a picture of this chocolate bar, I broke it up into 5 equal pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now let's say that Mr. Bastida, out of these 5 equal parts, Mr. Bastida ate 2 of them. How much is left? Represented with a number bond. So how much is left? Well, I ate 2/5, so what's left? 3/5. It's easy peasy. 1 chocolate bar, so I ate 2/5. What's left over is 3/5, because again, the 2/5 plus 3/5 add up to 1 whole. Remember, when we're dealing with fractions, we have the top number, which we call the numerator. Look at my beautiful handwriting. And I'm just going to put a D for denominator. Denominator. Big important thing. Our denominator, for the most part for now, just for the next couple lessons, remember, the denominator always stays the same. This is how many equal parts we have. How many equal parts we have. So for the next few lessons, again, remember, the denominator will not change. The numerator means how many of those pieces are shaded in. So let's say that's a 7. 7/8. So my apple, whatever it is, my cookie, my pencil, my pizza has 8 slices. 7 of those got eaten. My circle has 8 equal parts. And I think that's 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 8. 7 of those are shaded. So I have 1 left. 7 eighths are shaded. 1/8 is not shaded. So remember, equal parts. How many are shaded? And come on. Oh, there we go. So again, this review, we did this. It shouldn't be new information. If some of you have questions or are confused about this, let me know. I put a little discussion uh, forum in our class site. Let me see if I remember how to get to it. Oh, so if you don't know how to get to the class site yet, go to the creightonschools.org. Go to Home Learning Resources. There, go find your school to the left. One of these teacher websites. Look for my head floating in your screen. No, Mr. Bastida. And it's going to take us to our